This is a live launch feed of the 7th H2B launch vehicle from the Takesaki Range Control Center, the JAXA Tanegashima Space Center.
現在、ロケットの管制は吉信発射管制塔から行われています。
The Yoshinobu blockhouse is now commanding operation control of the launch vehicle.
34、33、32、31、230。220。
Now 3.5 minutes away from today's 12:52 p.m. Central launch, which will take place at the Tanegashima Space Center. You see the live view of the H2B rocket on the launch pad there, with the HTB-7 cargo craft on top of it, ready to make its way to the International Space Station and deliver more than 5 tons of cargo to the crew on board.
190、89、88、87、86、85、84、83、82、81、180、79、
打ち上げ3分前です。
T-3 minutes and counting.
全
システムの電源が外部から内部に切り替えられました。
The power has been switched to the internal systems.
67、66、65、64、63、62、61、160。150。140、39、38、37、36、35、34、33、32、31、130、29、28。
1段液体水素系準備完了。
We have completed the pressurization of the liquid hydrogen system of the H2B's first stage.
You can hear the launch preparations going along as planned. Now less than 2 minutes from launch. That's coming up at 12:52 p.m. Central Time, 1 minute and 45 seconds from now.
1段液体酸素系準備完了。
Pressurization complete of the liquid oxygen system of the first stage.
2段液体酸素系液体水素系準備完了。
Followed by the pressurization of the liquid oxygen and hydrogen systems of the second stage, and they are now complete.
フレームデフレクター冷却開始。
Cooling initiates at the flame deflector of the launch deck.
65、64、63、62、61、60、
打ち上げ1分前です。
T-1 minute.
56、55、54、53、52、51、50、49、48、47、46、45、44、43、42、41、40、39、38、37、36、35、34、
ウォーターカーテン散水開始。
The sound suppression water system has been activated at the launch deck.
27、26、25、24、23、22、21、20、19、18、17、16、15、14、13、
フライトモードオン。
9,
Turning the flight mode on.
駆動用電池起動。
Activating the thermal batteries.
5,
全
4,
システム準備完了。
3,
Systems are go.
2, 1.
We have main ignition.
SRB へ点火。
And you see the liftoff of the HTV-7 vehicle making its way to the International Space Station right on time, carrying more than 5 tons of equipment, including new batteries for the space station's electrical power system and equipment that will help increase the International Space Station's science capabilities.
種子島宇宙センターから打ち上げられました。
We have a liftoff of the H2B launch vehicle number 7 with Cohete 7 aboard from the JAXA Tanegashima Space Center at 2:50 to 27 a.m. Japan Standard Time on September 23rd, 2018.
打ち上げ以降、ロケットの管制は吉信発射管制塔から竹崎総合司令塔に引き継がれています。
Following liftoff. The operation control of the launch vehicle has been switched from the blockhouse to the range control center.
Just over 1 minute into the flight of the HTV-7 transfer vehicle to the International Space Station. At the 2 minute and 6 second mark, we will see the solid rocket boosters, the 4 solid rocket boosters at the base of the H2B rocket, separate from the rocket, having completed their duty in getting the rocket off the launch pad and on its way to space.
The
H2B flight is on course. The Tanegashima station is tracking the launch vehicle very well.
SRBA 燃焼終了。
The SRBAs have burned out.
Now 2 minutes and 9 seconds into the flight, we should be seeing those solid rocket boosters separate, and you can just make them out here on the live view of the rocket as it makes its way into space.
Separation of the first and second pairs of SRBAs.
Next up, we'll see the rocket fairing separate. That will be coming up at 3 minutes and 38 seconds into the flight, just a little over a minute from now. Launch took place right on time at 12:52 p.m. Central Time from the Tanegashima Space Complex. At that time, the space station was flying about 262 miles above the South Pacific Ocean. Seeing animation coming from the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency of the HTV's flight today. Rocket bearing separation coming up in 30 seconds.
第1段エンジンの燃焼は正常、制御系、飛行経路も正常です。ロケットは順調に飛行を続けており、現在の高度は約 95km、秒速約 2km です。
The combustion of the first stage engine, attitude control, and flight trajectory are all nominal. The H2B flight is on course. Current altitude is about 95 kilometers. Velocity is approximately 2 kilometers per second.
See the
animation there showing the
jettisons.
rocket fairing separation and hearing confirmation that everything is going nominally and that those fairings separated just as planned. Next up, at 5 minutes and 43 seconds into the flight, we'll see the main engines cut off. In the meantime, everything going just according to plan in today's launch, which again took place at 12:52 p.m. Central Time. Less than a minute to go now until the main engine cutoff for the H2B rocket carrying HTV-7 in space. That's coming up at the 5 minute and 43 second mark, and we are currently 5 minutes even into the flight.
It's 5
minutes after liftoff.
ロケットは順調に飛行を続けており、現在の高度は約 147km、秒速約 3.7km です。
The combustion of the first stage engine, attitude control, and trajectory are all nominal. The H2B flight is on course. Current altitude is about 147 kilometers with the approximate velocity 3.7 kilometers per second.
第1段エンジン燃焼停止。
The first stage engine cut off.
And there is the main engine cutoff for the H-2B transfer rocket carrying H-2B7 into space, coming right on time at 5 minutes and 43 seconds into the flight. We're now just over 6 minutes into the flight. The next milestone will be, we also saw the separation of the first and second stage, and the next milestone will be the second stage ignition. And actually,
the H-2B has entered the range of the JAXA Guam station.
Ignition occurred just as planned. The total burn time will be 8 minutes and 25 seconds. It will last until 14 minutes and 26 seconds into flight. So the HTV-7 now being powered further into space towards the International Space Station by the second stage of the H-2B launch vehicle. That second stage is 36 feet long, and again, the burn time is a total of 8 minutes and 25 seconds. Eight and a half minutes now into the flight of the H-2B launch vehicle into space with the H-2B-7 cargo vehicle on top of it. Everything going nominally. We had all the planned separations and main engine cutoff take place right on time, and now we're watching the second stage engine as it completes its 8-minute and 25-second burn. Still about 5 minutes away from the completion of that burn.
The status of the H-2B is nominal.
You're seeing here animation coming from the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency of the H-2B's flight, and as they just confirmed everything going as planned in today's flight, which is now 9 minutes and 34 seconds into the mission.
It's
10 minutes into flight.
ロケットは順調に飛行しております。ロケットは種子島、内之浦の各地上局からの捕捉範囲を離れ、小笠原局およびグアム局から追尾されています。
The H-2B is in good shape. The launch vehicle has flown beyond the ranges of the JAXA Tanegashima and Uchinura stations into the Ogasawara and Guam stations.
第2段エンジンの燃焼は正常、制御系、飛行経路も正常であり、ロケットは現在安定した飛行を続けております。現在の高度は約 280km、 秒速約 6.0km です。
The combustion of the second stage engine, attitude control, and flight trajectory are all nominal. The H2B flight is on course. Current altitude is about 280 kilometers. Velocity is approximately 6 kilometers per second.
Continuing to get reports that all is well in the H2B's flight today. It took off at 12:52 p.m. Central Time, just as scheduled, and everything has been going nominally as it's been making its way towards what will be the final milestone of the second stage engine cutoff and then the separation of the HTV from the rocket so that it can continue making its way to the International Space Station. That's going to, the second stage engine cutoff will take place at the 14-minute and 26-second mark, a little less than 3 minutes from now. On board the HTV-7, there's more than 5 tons of cargo destined to arrive at the International Space Station on Thursday. That includes 6 new lithium-ion batteries and adapter plates that will be used to replace the aging nickel-hydrogen batteries that are part of the space station's electrical power system. Those are going to be swapped out through a series of robotic maneuvers and 2 spacewalks that are now scheduled to take place during Expedition 57. Also includes fresh food, 2 new express racks, the those are multi-purpose payload rack systems that store and support research on board the station. Also a new science glove box that will be installed in the Japanese Kibo laboratory for use in experiments.
The launch vehicle has flown beyond the range of the Ogasawara station, and the JAXA Guam station is now tracking the launch vehicle.
Also on board, there's a life support rack developed by ESA to test a system that produces oxygen from water using electrolysis and then uses leftover hydrogen to make methane in water using Spatier reaction with carbon dioxide, and that then produces more water that can be turned into more oxygen. There are also 2 CubeSat experiments on board developed by Japanese universities, one that will measure electron density and demonstrate a technology for 3D mapping of the ionosphere, and one that will perform a small-scale demonstration of a space elevator concept. And then there's also on board a small re-entry capsule that can be used to return science samples from the space station. The space station crew will be assembling it and then installing it into the HTV just before the vehicle undocks at the end of its mission. After the HTV-7 deorbits, the capsule will be deployed and then make its own way through the Earth's atmosphere using parachutes to land in the ocean and be recovered by JAXA ships. It can hold up to 30 liters of cargo for return to scientists on the ground. Should see the second stage engine cutoff coming up in about 10 seconds now.
第2段エンジン燃焼停止。
The second stage engine cut off.
And there's confirmation that the second stage engines did indeed cut off. We've got now just the separation of the second stage from the HTV cargo vehicle. It'll come up at the 15-minute and 17-second mark, less than a minute from now. And HTV separation confirmed. There you see the flight controllers in Japan congratulating each other on a nominal flight, with the HTV-7 now safely in space and ready to make its way to the International Space Station for a docking on Thursday.
補給物資を搭載したコウノトリ7号機は国際宇宙ステーションへ向け分離されました。
The cargo transporter Konotori 7 has just left for the International Space Station.
これをもちまして H2B ロケット7号機による宇宙ステーション補給機コウノトリ7号機の打ち上げ実況放送を終了いたします。
We'll now conclude our live coverage of the H2B launch vehicle with the Konotori 7 on board.
As we said, the H2V-7 is now safely in space and ready to begin making its way to the International Space Station for its capture and then berthing to the Harmony node on Thursday morning. We're going to stick with coverage for a few more minutes because at about 1:13 p.m.